After patiently waiting for DE to change this Warframe, I think they're not going to touch her, and that means I'm gonna be bringing you guys a Jade Steel Path build. Now, what do we get with this build? We get crowd controlling, we get, of course, armor stripping, we get nuking out the wazoo, and a little bit of survivability, but I guess we're gonna talk about that. So if all of that sounds interesting, let's go. So, Jade is the newest Warframe added in with the Jade Shadows update, and of course with the cool new feature inside of her passive being that she has 2 aura slots. Yes, you can put 2 aura mods there, and you can choose basically whichever one you want. One of them already has an aura format active, so that means you're gonna basically get the capacity no matter what. And of course, the capacity, you have more mod capacity, so that's pretty cool. Now, the second part of the passive is some of her abilities apply a judgment debuff. This makes enemies 50% more vulnerable to damage for 10 seconds, and we'll talk about this, how to utilize this and how to nuke with this. But Light's Judgment is the first ability. You throw down a max of 5 balls that are going to be glowing, creating a circle, dealing heat damage. It's going to heal your allies. Of course, the damage and of course the healing does multiply if the circles, I guess, intertwine, and this is going to be your main nuking ability because of the judgment debuff that gets applied to every single enemy inside of these circles. Now, the duration is so short, but it doesn't matter, their lifespans are going to be much shorter. So, Symphony of Mercy. Symphony of Mercy is her second ability, and you get 3 different buffs here, and these are the 3 different buffs. You can see them in the bottom right. They go. Power of the 7 is going to increase your ability strength, basically doing what it does on the tin. It is going to increase on your other abilities after you cast Symphony of Mercy, so that's pretty cool. You also have Deathbringer, which increases your weapon damage, and then Spirit of Resilience, which removes the shield recharge delay of 4 seconds, and it increases the actual recharge rate, so that's pretty cool. But the survivability on this is pretty lackluster. We're gonna figure something out for that. And then we have Ophanim Eyes, which summons Ophanim Eyes, or Ophanim Eyes, I guess, around you, and it creates a cone in front of you. You can sort of see it, hopefully, in the background. And this cone will allow you to basically tag enemies with those, of course, Ophanim Eyes, and it will also armor strip them, so that is very, very nice. We do love to see that. And of course, you can revive allies from a distance with this, so that's very cool. And the distance is dependent on your range, so it won't get bigger, it will just get longer, if that makes sense. And we have Glory on high, basically meaning she goes up into the air, and if you use her primary fire, she's gonna use and fire heat lasers at enemies, and of course utilizing her Glory of melee weapon, or I guess, sorry, secondary weapon, not melee weapon. And you can also use the old fire of this, which is gonna detonate the tagged enemies with Judgment. Now, you can tag enemies with Glory on high or for 4th ability's primary fire. It has a small chance as well, and of course it does scale off mods, but we'll talk about that when we actually get there. But this is going to be your nuking ability. Keep in mind, at least 1 enemy needs to be tagged with Judgment or marked by Judgment, and you already saw what the mark looks like. So for it actually to detonate, and it does change the other chain to other enemies, and the more enemies tagged, you get more damage basically, and you can basically just nuke everything. So we have talked about everything Jade. Let's cover her build. Now, for her build, we have Corrosive Projection, Growing Power, Aviator for damage reduction, Transient Fortitude, Precision Intensify, Prime Continuity, Stretch, Streamlined, Fleeting Expertise, Overextended, Adaptation, and then Auto Augmented, and then Molt Efficiency for Power Strength and Duration. Now, you can change out Precision Intensify for Umbral Intensify for an overall bigger sort of buff to your Power Strength, but we are gonna get that from other means as well, and that's why I decided to go there. Archon Intensify doesn't work on her, either it's bugged or it's not supposed to with her first ability, because it does heal you and your allies, so not sure what's going on there, but that is pretty much the build. Now, we did mention that she has an Exalted secondary. We will get to that, but we want to cover the Archon Shards. Now, I'm someone who likes a lot of energy, and that's why I have 2 Archon Shards, blue ones, increasing my max energy by a total of 125, and then we have 2 for casting speed, 1 Tau Forge normal one, and then 1 Tau Forge Strength for Power Strength. Honestly, the blue ones are pretty much not necessary, neither is the second yellow one. The red one and the yellow one I would definitely keep here, but keeping in mind that casting speed, reload speed, and fire rate does not actually increase the, I guess, times that you can spam the old fire. The old fire is capped at 1 second usage, so you will always have to wait for that. But now let's cover Glory. That is her Exalted secondary. We have Prime Fulmination, Prime Target Cracker, Prime Convulsion, Lethal Torrent, Prime Heated Charge, Pistol Pestilence, Expel Orichin, Primed Pistol Gambit. Now, keep this in mind, the primary fire is influenced by Hornet Strike and of course the multi-shot mods, but the old fire is not. So for example, if I were to put Hornet Strike, it would not increase my actual damage of my old fire. It's only the critical chance mods and of course the elemental mods that we have equipped, so that's why we went for that. We do have Lethal Torrent, and that is primarily because I actually do use the primary fire because it's actually pretty good. So that is very nice. You can actually just change it out and put something else in there if you really would want to. Now the focus skill is going to be Mother-Eye. Mother-Eye is primarily used for Sling Strength, giving us power strength, and then we have Power Transfer, giving us extra casting speed. Now of course, casting speed does not affect your ult on your 4, but it does affect everything else, so it's pretty good to have. Now, secondary, primary, and melee. I do carry a primary. It's usually something completely random. You can use almost any primary that you think is pretty good because you already have Deathbringer to buff up your damage, so bring in anything you possibly would want. I personally don't carry a melee or a secondary with this Warframe, and I basically just use a primary and I just nuke everything for her 4th ability, so yeah, that is something there as well. But if you run out of energy, you can definitely use, of course, some really good weapons because you're gonna get into sticky situations. So that is pretty much it. The companion of choice is of course going to be Nautilus. Nautilus is gonna attract enemies, of course, more enemies, more damage, more nuking. These are the builds, of course, for Nautilus and Hellstrom. And now we do want to cover on how to actually play this Warframe and how to actually utilize her the best. Well, first of all, activate your 3rd ability. You almost always want to have enemies at least armor stripped a little bit with either heat and of course just the additional benefit of the actual ability armor stripping, so that's pretty cool. Then 2nd ability, I would prefer you do not almost utilize the shields, almost always use Power Strength or Deathbringer, depending if you're playing on weapons and if you're playing, of course, just normal nuking. Now, as I did probably not mention, you can actually use this Warframe to buff up your weapons and be a gun platform, but we're focusing on a nuking for today. So basically cast that and then throw down your 1st ability around and then activate your 4th and nuke enemies. And that's basically it. You just have to keep this up pretty much throughout the gameplay. If you're having issues with energy, Arcane Energize could be a pretty good option. I don't love saying it, but it could be. And of course, you can utilize Equilibrium, for example, but I haven't really run into those issues. So that is pretty much it. That is Jade. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hopefully the doesn't change her, and of course if you do think I missed out on something, leave it in the comment section down below, and of course do leave a like and comment and subscribe, sorry, if you like the video. And I love every single one of you guys, and I'll see you guys on the next one. The Gaming Weasel over and out.